Welcome to Mental Game Mastery, where we dive into the world of sports psychology and peak performance, designed for you to level up your athletic career. As a retired football coach, I spend a lot of time in film study and on practice fields. Now that I coach athletes of all sports on mental performance, I stay curious to how the top athletes, teams, and organizations are training their athletes, which led me to researching where the Washington Huskies came from this year. Obviously, they have talent, and I'm sure the X's and O's are there. I wanted to see what they were doing to give their players an extra edge. A lot of teams across all sports are taking a holistic approach, intertwining the mental game with physical ability. Let's rewind to June 2023. Husky football partnered with NeuroTrainer, marrying the realms of brain science and virtual reality to turbocharge their athletes' peak performance. Now, I'd like to mention that in no way am I paid to mention any of these technologies, nor is this an advertisement or endorsement for NeuroTrainer or any other VR technology I mentioned, although I would welcome the partnership if they'd like to have the conversation. I know from my experience and work with coaching baseball with the Texas A&M Aggie organization over the last decade that they utilize a couple of VR programs to give their baseball players extra work. Hey there, athletes. I'm your host, Coach P, bringing you mental performance insights and stories from being in the trenches of athletic coaching. As a mental performance coach, I get the privilege to work with all athletes across all sports. And in this episode, we're stepping into the world of athlete development in which reality blends with the virtual, and the possibilities are as limitless as the imagination. Imagine with me putting on a headset, and suddenly you're standing in a packed stadium, the crowd roaring, the pressure mounting, just as it would be in a real competition, or finding yourself on the soccer field, the swimming pool, or the racetrack, all from the comfort of your training room. You see, that's the magic of virtual reality. It's a computer-generated simulation that creates a three-dimensional interactive environment, which can be both visually and physically engaging, except you're standing in your own athletic facilities. This isn't just about cool graphics and immersive games, although having played around with the baseball version of VR in the form of Win Reality, it's a pretty cool experience. The neat thing is that this isn't going to happen sometime in the future. It's happening right now. VR technology is transforming how athletes train, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. There are VR tools to help athletes conquer mental barriers, refine decision-making under pressure, and practice in environments that would mimic the intensity of real-world competition. And it's a form of kinesthetic visualization. For example, let's take a look at a clip from the show Limitless, starring Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth, using a virtual reality training.
Put this over your head,
Right.
and this part should be right around there. And that's gonna measure your blood pressure.
To prepare Chris for the crane walk, I want to start by making him experience a stressful situation designed to help him get a better understanding of how his mind affects his body.
So you see your blood pressure,
Blood pressure. All right.
we see your breathing rate, your heart rate here.
Great.
You know, right now you're at 65 beats per minute. So this is going to be what I consider your baseline, and then compare everything to that.
So I've checked Chris's heart rate when he's relaxed, and I'm going to see how it changes when he's doing something that's stressful for him.
I can see that hand. Yeah. That's
So I want him to experience a virtual reality version of the crane walk.
Okay, so all I want you to do is walk across that plank, and off you go.
Whoa, see you guys. It's a long way up, huh?
Yep.
The VR experience is fascinating.
Whoa. Wow.
One part of my brain is very aware that it's not real. The other part of it is screaming, this is crazy, what are we doing? We're gonna die. I feel it in my stomach, the same nervous energy that I'd have if I was actually standing on a building.
So his heart rate was at like 65, and it's definitely going up. His breathing rate is going up. It was around 12 before.
It's definitely some fear.
I feel super unsteady now. I can't do it.
Even though there's no real danger to Chris, his brain is perceiving threat. His stress is kicking in. It's the classic fight or flight response.
When my brain senses something stressful, it's like a switch is flipped. My nerves send my whole system into overdrive, triggering a flood of hormones into my bloodstream. My breathing speeds up, my heart starts racing, I feel wired. In moments of danger, that energy surge would help me fight or run away. Then when it's over, my stress circuit should switch off. No harm done. But when our stress doesn't go away, one of those hormones, cortisol, keeps on flowing. And our fight or flight circuit can't fully shut down. Over time, we get burnt out, which can lead to high blood pressure, a misfiring immune system, and elevated blood sugar, all increasing the risk of deadly disease. Whoa, that's so weird. How did my heart rate increase, Mum?
So here's what was really interesting is that it was as you were going up, it increased to give you the energy and mobilize you to do what you need to do. The problem is if you end up having that elevated level like throughout the day, that's when things become less healthy, less functional, because that would mean that your body is not shutting down and turning off and resting the way it needs to.
And what it made me think was like, this is gonna suck when I really do it.
And that is what we're going to be working on.
Yeah.
As we saw for Chris and for athletes, VR isn't just a game. It's a sophisticated training tool. It allows them to practice their skills in a hyper-realistic setting without the physical risks or constraints of the real world. So picture a skier navigating a virtual downhill course or a quarterback practicing passing plays against a virtual defense. And as we saw from the clip of Limitless, this isn't just visual, it's a full body experience. And as we just saw, VR goes beyond just mimicking physical environments. VR technology is incredibly sophisticated. It tracks movements, analyzes performance, and even simulates various weather conditions. It can be programmed to simulate specific game scenarios, opponents, and then let's throw in some stress-inducing situations. This means athletes can practice not only their physical skills, but also their mental resilience. They can repeatedly face challenging situations like a penalty shootout or a tie-breaking sprint to build their mental toughness and decision-making skills under pressure. And it provides immediate feedback. For the athlete, he or she is interacting with this virtual world, making decisions and movements just like they would in a real competition. And this gives athletes the ability to analyze their performance in real time. They can adjust their strategies and see the results of those adjustments right away. This rapid feedback loop accelerates the learning process, making training more efficient and effective. Now, I'm going to have to state the obvious here and issue a disclaimer as we explore this topic. Virtual reality is not going to replace traditional training methods. It's a supplement, an extra tool in an athlete's arsenal. By combining VR with physical practice, you as an athlete can achieve a well-rounded preparation, enhancing both your physical and your mental game. The really good coaches tailor their teaching and their coaching to how their athletes learn. And this is assuming that coaches and athletes know how they learn. I think back to my football playing days. I had good coaches, but I also tried not to fall asleep in film. And then I fast forward to my coaching days to where I was looking for creative ways to keep my players engaged while watching film. Now, I imagine for those athletes that are kinesthetic learners, meaning they learn by doing, how this changes the way an athlete or team can watch film. But how does this really benefit athletes? Well, it's about mental preparation. And from what I've heard, the separation is in the preparation. What virtual reality also offers is a space to fail and learn. An athlete can practice 100 times if they want, face 100 different scenarios, and learn from each without the physical strain or the risk of injury. And how does virtual reality enhance the mental game? Well, as I've mentioned before, virtual reality can simulate pressure situations, like taking that final shot in a basketball or needing to perform a critical serve in tennis. Athletes can acclimate to these high-stress moments, which can be hard to replicate in regular training. I've talked a lot about what I think are the pros, but what about the cons? First, I'd say accessibility. VR technology, while growing rapidly, isn't yet widely available in all sports training facilities. Now, most of this is done on the Meta Quest, which this is not an advertisement, and it might take a bit of fundraising for a high school program to outfit their athletic organization. And you would need a system in place to allow for all athletes access. And as more sports teams and training programs recognize the value of this type of training, I'm sure we'll start seeing it become a standard part of training regimens, just like physical workouts or nutrition plans. And like any technology, as this becomes more mainstream, the costs are likely to decrease. We've seen the trend with computers, with our smartphones, and even fitness trackers. Advancements in technology will make VR more affordable. But then there's also the possibility for the need of specialized equipment. I know with the Win Reality program, when I first used it, it started with just swinging the controllers of the Quest. Now they have a short bat. And because of a potential physical movement, a significant amount of space to safely use is necessary. And as we wrap up, what does all this mean for the future of VR and sports psychology? Well, just like your athletic development, all of this points to constant evolution. As this technology becomes more refined, user friendly, and cost effective, we can expect it to become a staple in athletic development programs. And until then, we'll continue to watch this exciting space, anticipating the next leap forward in how we train our minds and our bodies. And if you found this episode insightful and helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. Share this video with other athletes, with your coaches, and definitely subscribe for more insights on mental performance. Be sure to share your own strategies for your mental game in the comments. And until next time, stay composed, embrace the pressure, look to perform at your best when it matters most, and remember, the time is now.